Come in.
Good morning. My name is Naya
Good
Burton,
morning.
and I'm an F&P student, and I'll be doing your cardiac assessment today. Can I have your name and date of birth?
Craig Jones, 11/24/1983.
Okay. So before we get started on the physical exam, I'm going to ask a few questions. Is that okay?
Yes.
Do you have a history of arrhythmias, murmurs, or cardiac disorders?
No.
Have you had any pain or pressure in your chest?
No.
Do you ever feel short of breath with activity when you're just sleeping or when you're lying flat?
No.
Have you ever noticed any swelling of your feet and ankles?
No.
Have you ever noticed your heart feel like it's racing?
No.
Do you ever feel lightheaded or dizzy?
No.
Do you have pain in your feet or lower legs when you're exercising?
No.
Do you currently have any constant pain in your lower extremities?
No.
Okay. So those are all the questions I have for you today. So we're gonna start off doing our physical exam with you laying supine, which is on your back.
Okay.
I'll come to this side. Okay. So the first part of the assessment is we're going to be assessing the precardium, which consists of 6 areas. So I'm going to inspect and auscultate and palpate each area. So the first area I will be doing that in is the aortic, and that sits on the right side of the sternum at the second intercostal. Next, you have the pneumotic that sits also at the second intercostal, but on the left side of the sternum. And below that, sitting at the third intercostal, is the aorus. And at the fourth intercostal, we have the tricuspid. And sitting at the fifth intercostal at the mid-clavicular line is the mitral valve, also where the PMI is located. And then kind of right below the sternum is where the epigastric sits. So those are the 6 areas. So I'm going to inspect and then palpate and auscultate each area. So we have the aortic, and then we have the pneumotic, then we have the aortic, and then we have the tricuspid, and then the mitral, also where the PMI is located, and then our epigastric. Okay. So the next part of my assessment, I'm going to also take a few areas around your abdominal area. So the first one is I'm going to also take this abdominal aorta, and that sits kind of right above the belly button, in between the sternum, the tip of the sternum and the belly button. Then on each side of that sits the renal, left, and then right. And below those two, sitting at the left and right, you have the iliac. And then below those, on each side, is the femoral. Sounds good, didn't hear no bruits in that area. So the next part of my assessment is I'm going to also take the heart. So I'm going to listen to your heart in 3 different positions. The first position I'm going to have you stay in supine. So the next position, I'm going to put you in a left lateral position. So if you could lay like on your left side. So listen to your heart. And now I'm gonna have you sit back up in the sitting position. And I'm gonna listen to your heart from there. So the next part of the physical exam is I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna auscultate, inspect, and palpate your carotid arteries. Okay, I'm just gonna touch your neck, so I'm gonna inspect each side. I'm gonna palpate, and then I'm gonna listen with the bell of my stethoscope. Now we're gonna feel for warmth in your upper extremities, and we're also gonna check pulses. So I'm just gonna feel for warmth. And we're first gonna assess the radial pulse, which is right here by the wrist. We assess and compare each side. And then we have the brachial that's up here. And if you could scoot back a little bit. We have the popliteal that it's like sits right on the back of the knee. Assessing both sides. And then I'm gonna assess the posterior tibia, which is this right here. Assessing both sides. And then we're gonna assess the feet. This is a dorsal. Okay. Now that we're done assessing the pulses, I'm gonna just check for any edema in your lower extremities. Okay. No pitting edema present. So that completes our physical exam. Do you have any questions for me?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.